Good morning, reception, and welcome to your first few days of superhero stories. Our focus for the week is to learn a superhero story to support us with our learning in the next few weeks. We will recap story structure and also look at what makes up a superhero story. This video includes learning for day 1, 2 and 3, which means that on this same video, I explain tasks for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. So make sure you play this video each day to recap your learning to help you remember, but to also find out what the tasks are. Our learning objective for the week is to be able to retell a superhero story. And to do this, we have our success criteria, which we'll look at throughout the whole week. The first one is that we can retell a story. I can also identify the different parts of a story, and I can even explain what features make a superhero story. The book we are going to be using and the story that we're going to learn this week is Superworm. Just for a minute, have a look at the picture on the screen and think about what the story might be about. Then, when you're ready, you can have a look for the story on YouTube, but make sure you find an adult first to help you, or you might have your own copy at home. So pause the video here and listen to the story. When you first started reception in September, we looked at lots of different storybooks and we looked at the structure of beginning, middle and end. But we're really good at now identifying the beginning, middle and end, so we're going to go into a bit more detail which will help you for next year. So on the screen I have got a picture of a story mountain, and this story mountain shows us the structure and how the book flows. So this first box here at the bottom, the red one, is the opening. Then we move on to the build-up. Then we go on to the dilemma or the problem, so what happens in the book. And then the resolution. And the resolution is how was that solved? And then we move on to the ending. So if we use Superworm and our story mountain structure, we can see each part of the story. So here we are looking at the opening of the book, and in the opening of the book it introduces Superworm and his powers, and it also shows how he saves the toad, the bees and the beetles. Then we move on to the build-up, and the build-up is just as it says in the title. It builds up to the main part of the book, so leading on to the problem. And in Superworm, this is when the lizard hears the animals chanting Superworm's song, and then he sends his crow to capture Superworm. We then move on to the dilemma or the problem. So what has gone wrong in the book? So this is when the lizard uses his magic flower to take charge of Superworm and rob him of all of his special powers. And he has to wriggle in the soil to find treasure. And if he doesn't find any, then he might get eaten by the crow. But then we have a resolution, and a resolution is how is the problem solved? So how do they save the day? So in Superworm, the creatures hear the crow and they hatch a cunning plan. The snails eat the flower to rob the lizard of his power. They then carry a honeycomb and they make a trap for the lizard and they capture him. And then they drop him in the rubbish dump. So then they've helped Superworm. We then have the last section of the book and the last section of our story mountain, and this is the ending. So just as it says, what happens at the end of the story? And this is where Superworm is back again because the other creatures have rescued him. And again at the end of the book it goes through all his magic powers and how he helps the other creatures. So your task today is to retell the story verbally. You might want to retell the story to a friend or a family member. Verbally just means to use your mouth, so to speak it, but maybe you want to act it out or use toys or yourself. So the task you're going to start today should take you 2 days. So you're going to start it today but hopefully finish it tomorrow. And the task is that you're going to draw a picture for each section of the story and you're going to follow the story mountain parts. You're then going to write a few sentences to explain what is happening in each part of the story. The challenge is that you don't need to draw the pictures, you can just fill out the Story Mountain sheet. Let's reflect on our learning today. So our learning objective was to be able to retell a superhero story. And hopefully on Monday you all had a go at retelling the story yourself, so we can tick that off of our success criteria. We also have started looking at the different parts of the story using a Story Mountain structure. And then at the end of the week, we're going to be looking at the features that make a superhero story.